Hey everyone, throwaway account, because, well, you'll see why. I never thought I'd be here, but life has a way of hitting you with a bat when you least expect it. My name's Jack, 38M, and I was married to Sherry, 36F, for 13 years. We had what I thought was a solid marriage, built on trust, love, and two amazing kids, Shelby, 8, and Ryan, 6. Life was good. We had the nice house, the weekend BBQs, the family road trips. You know, the kind of life you think is safe. Until one random Thursday shattered everything. It started with something so small, so stupid, that I still can't believe it led me to uncover the truth. My daughter, Shelby, got sick at school. Nothing serious, just a stomach bug. I was at work, but since Sherry worked closer, the school called her first. When I got the message from the nurse, I figured Sherry already picked her up. But when I called my wife to check in, she didn't answer. No big deal, right? Probably driving. Except an hour passed. Then another. I called again. Straight to voicemail. Something in my gut told me something was off. Sherry was always on her phone, Facebook, Instagram, texting friends. There was no way she just missed my calls. So I called her office. Her receptionist answered and said, "Oh, Sherry's out for lunch." Lunch. At 2:30 p.m. Now, I'm not the jealous or paranoid type, but something about the way her receptionist hesitated before answering made my skin crawl. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I opened up the Find My app on my phone. We had it activated for emergencies, mostly for keeping tabs on the kids. I clicked on Sherry's location. She wasn't at work. She was at a hotel 20 minutes away. That moment, it was like my whole world just froze. I stood there in my office, staring at my phone, heart pounding so hard I thought I was going to pass out. I wanted to be wrong. I needed to be wrong. So I grabbed my keys and drove straight there. What I saw in that parking lot changed everything. I pulled into the parking lot of the hotel, my hands gripping the steering wheel, so tight my knuckles turned white. I wasn't even thinking. My body just moved on its own. Sherry's car was there, parked near the side entrance. I stared at it, my stomach twisting. Maybe, just maybe, there was an explanation. Maybe she was meeting a friend. Maybe she was helping someone. Maybe, no. Deep down, I already knew. I took a deep breath, got out of my car, and walked toward the entrance. I didn't have a plan. What was I going to do? Barge in and start kicking down doors? No. I needed proof. If this was what I thought it was, I needed to be smart. So I waited. 15 minutes passed. Then 20. And then the door opened. First he walked out. A tall guy in a button-up shirt, sleeves rolled up like some kind of businessman who just happened to have time for an afternoon hotel visit. His hair was slightly messed up, and he had that smug, satisfied look on his face. And then, behind him, Sherry, my wife. Her hair was messy. Her blouse was wrinkled. And when she laughed at something he said, tilting her head like a lovesick teenager, I felt something inside me snap. I don't even remember making the decision to take a picture, but my hands moved on their own. 1, 2, 3 shots, all from my phone. Then, as if she felt someone watching, Sherry turned her head and locked eyes with me. Her face dropped. Her smile vanished, her body stiffened, and she immediately stepped away from him. Like somehow, that would make it look less suspicious. Like I didn't just catch her walking out of a hotel with another man. The guy noticed her change in expression and turned too. That's when I realized who he was. Greg Allen, her boss. A married man. 3 kids. I had met his wife multiple times. For a few seconds, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. It was just the 3 of us standing in a hotel parking lot, me gripping my phone, Sherry looking like a deer in headlights, and Greg, the absolute piece of garbage, actually smirking. Smirking. Like this was some kind of joke. Like I was nothing. I felt my fingers twitch. My first instinct was to walk over and knock that smug grin off his face. But I didn't. Because I wasn't going to just explode. I was going to ruin them. Sherry finally took a step forward, her mouth opening like she was about to say something. Maybe some pathetic excuse, maybe some fake apology. But I didn't let her. I just lifted my phone, made sure she saw the pictures I had just taken, and said, "Don't bother. I know everything." Then I turned, walked back to my car, and drove away. I drove straight home, my heart racing like I had just run a marathon. My hands were shaking on the wheel, my thoughts all over the place. Part of me wanted to scream. Part of me wanted to cry. But mostly, I just felt numb. By the time I pulled into the driveway, I had made a decision. I wasn't going to confront her like some raging husband, screaming and demanding answers. No, I was going to wait. I was going to let her come to me. And sure enough, 20 minutes later, Sherry came running through the front door, her face pale, her breathing heavy, like she had sprinted straight from the hotel. "Jack, I can explain," she gasped. I didn't say anything. I just sat there on the couch, my phone in my hand, calm, cold, watching her like a stranger. She took a step closer. "It's not what it looks like." I let out a short laugh. Couldn't help it, really, because it looked like my wife was sneaking out of a hotel in the middle of the day with her boss. She swallowed hard. Her hands were shaking. But instead of telling the truth, she did what I knew she was going to do. She lied. We were just talking about work stuff. "I swear, Jack, you have to believe me. I held up my phone, clicked on the picture, and turned it toward her. "This doesn't look like a business meeting." Her face drained of color. I stood up slowly, still keeping my voice calm. "How long?" She opened her mouth, then closed it, then whispered, "A few weeks." I clenched my jaw. Lie. I had been married to this woman for 13 years. I knew every single one of her tells. The way she blinked too much when she was nervous. The way she bit her lip when she was about to twist the truth. She was lying to my face. I took a deep breath, my hands balling into fists at my sides. "Try again." She hesitated. Then, "Okay, 3 months." I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so pathetic. Another lie. I had already checked our phone records before I got home. I had already looked up Greg's schedule. I already put the pieces together. 6 months. That's how long she had been sneaking around behind my back, sleeping with her boss while coming home and pretending to be a wife. A mother. Good person. And she was still lying. I stared at her for a long moment, my chest burning, my hands itching to grab something, anything, to throw. But I didn't. Because I wasn't going to let her twist this. I wasn't going to give her the chance to cry and play the victim. So I just looked her dead in the eye and said, "Pack your bags." Her eyes widened. "Wait, no? Jack, please, just listen to me." "Pack your bags." She burst into tears, sobbing like she was the one who had been betrayed, begging me to talk, saying she loved me, that it was a mistake, that she never meant for it to happen. I didn't care. I didn't say another word. I just walked upstairs, grabbed the sheets off our bed, the ones I had no doubt she'd slept with them on, and tossed them in the trash. This wasn't over. Not even close. Because if she thought all she had to do was cry and say sorry, she had no idea what was coming next. Sherry kept sobbing as I walked upstairs, but I ignored her. She was pacing back and forth in the living room, her voice shaking as she threw out every excuse in the book. It didn't mean anything. I was feeling unappreciated. "It was a mistake, Jack. Please just talk to me." I didn't answer. I was done listening to her. I went into our bedroom, my bedroom now, and started tossing all her clothes into a suitcase. No hesitation, no second thoughts, just methodically ripping every trace of her out of my life. I heard her footsteps rush up behind me. "Jack, stop. You can't just throw me out." I turned around and stared her down. She flinched. "Where's Greg right now?" I asked, voice even. Her face twisted with panic. "What?" I stepped closer. "Where is Greg?" She opened her mouth, then hesitated. She was stalling. I pulled out my phone, opened up Facebook, and scrolled down to Greg Allen's wife's profile. "Since you won't answer, maybe I should ask his wife," I said, tapping my screen like I was about to message her. Sherry lunged for my phone. "No, don't. Please, Jack. Just, I yanked it back before she could grab it. She was shaking now, her face red, breathing hard. Good. Because now she wasn't just scared of losing me. She was scared of losing everything. I crossed my arms. So you're fine lying to me. But now that it's about to blow up your little affair, suddenly you cares? She wiped her face, trying to compose herself. It's not like that, Jack. I cut her off. You have one chance to tell me the truth. If you lie again, I'm calling Greg's wife. And then I'm blasting this everywhere. She swallowed hard, looking down. Then, finally, she whispered, 6 months. There it was. The truth. Or at least as close to the truth as she was willing to admit. I nodded slowly, letting the weight of it settle between us. And how many times? She looked away. I don't know. Ballpark it. She let out a shaky breath. A few times a month. I clenched my jaw. Doing the math in my head made me sick. 6 months. For weeks in a month. A few times each month. That was dozens of times. And now she was standing here, begging me to forgive her. I inhaled deeply, forcing myself to stay calm. Then I pointed at the suitcase. You're leaving. Tonight. Sherry shook her head furiously. I have nowhere to go, Jack. The kids. The kids are staying here. Her eyes widened. No, you can't. I can. And I will. I stepped closer, my voice low and firm. Do you really think a judge is going to side with a cheating wife who got caught sneaking out of a hotel in the middle of the day? She opened her mouth, then shut it. She knew I was right. Tears started falling again, but I didn't care. This wasn't just about me. This was about our kids. About the life she destroyed. And I wasn't about to let her slither her way out of it. I grabbed the suitcase and shoved it into her arms. Get out. She stared at me, lip trembling. Jack, please. I turned my back on her and walked downstairs. She followed, still crying, still pleading. But I didn't turn around. She had already done enough damage. But what she didn't know, this was just the beginning. I wasn't done yet. Not even close. Sherry didn't leave right away. She stood there in the living room, gripping the suitcase, her breath coming in short, panicked gasps. Jack, please, just give me a chance to explain everything. I exhaled slowly, keeping my anger in check. You've had 6 months to explain. You chose to lie instead. Her eyes darted to the stairs, toward the kids' rooms. What are we going to tell Shelby and Ryan? That hit me hard. Not because she deserved an answer, but because our kids didn't deserve this mess. They deserve parents who love them, a home that felt safe. And because of her, everything was about to come crashing down. I clenched my jaw. I'll tell them Mommy made a mistake and needs to stay somewhere else for a little while. She gasped like I had slapped her. Jack, no. Please, don't make me leave like this. We can fix this. I love you. I stared at her. You love me. I let out a bitter laugh. You sure loved Greg in that hotel room. Her face twisted in pain. It wasn't like that, I swear. I had enough. I turned away and opened the front door. Go. Tears ran down her cheeks as she stepped toward me. Please, just let me stay for one night. We can talk tomorrow. Please, for the kids. I almost caved. Almost. But then my phone buzzed. A text message. From Greg's wife. Hey Jack. We need to talk. Call me ASAP. I turned back to Sherry. I guess Greg's wife found out. Her face went white. Her whole body stiffened. Her breathing hitched. And for the first time, I saw real fear in her eyes. She knew what was coming. I grabbed my keys and stepped past her, shutting the door behind me without another word. Because it was time to make my next move. It was time to end this. I sat in my car, gripping my phone, staring at the message from Greg's wife. My heart was pounding, my fingers hovering over the call button. I had two choices. Ignore it, let Sherry deal with her own mess, and focus on moving forward. Call Greg's wife and blow this thing wide open. I chose option 2. The phone rang twice before she picked up. Jack. Her voice was shaky, but there was steel underneath. Yeah. I got your message. I said, keeping my voice even. How long have you known? A pause. Then she exhaled shakily. I found out an hour ago. I saw some texts on Greg's iPad. He forgot to log out. It was explicit. I clenched my jaw. Figures. The dude was dumb enough to screw around. Of course, he was dumb enough to get caught like this. What do you want to do? I asked, cutting straight to the point. She hesitated. I want revenge. Those 3 words sent a chill down my spine. Not because I disagreed, but because I knew exactly how she felt. I leaned back in my seat. What are you thinking? She let out a humorless laugh. Well, first, I'm divorcing his sorry ass. But before that, I want him to suffer. Publicly. A slow smile spread across my face. I like the way you think. She sniffled, but steadied herself. Jack, would you be willing to help me? I thought about it. About everything Greg and Sherry had taken from me. The betrayal. The humiliation. The months of lies. Then I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. Oh, I'm more than willing. This wasn't just about exposing them. This was about taking everything from them. And trust me, I had the perfect plan. I sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel, my mind racing. Greg's wife, Melissa, wanted revenge. So did I. And if we played this right, we weren't just going to expose them. We were going to ruin them. I took a deep breath. All right, Melissa, tell me what you have in mind. She hesitated. Well, Greg has a huge company event coming up. A big corporate dinner. All the executives, their spouses, clients. It's a major deal. He's been hyping it up for months. I smirked. So you want to put him on blast in front of all of them? Exactly. Her voice turned icy. I want them all to see what kind of man he really is. My mind was already racing. All right, here's what we're going to do. And just like that, the plan was born. Step 1, the evidence. Between the 2 of us, we had everything. Screenshots of text messages. Pictures of Sherry and Greg leaving the hotel. Hotel receipts. Melissa had access to their joint account. It was airtight. There was no way they could talk their way out of it. Step 2, the public exposure. Greg's corporate event was being held at a fancy hotel banquet hall. It was going to be packed. Executives, business partners, potential investors. Melissa had one request. I want to be the one to expose him, she said. I want to do it where it hurts him the most, his reputation. I had no problem with that. But I had my own personal score to settle with Sherry. So while Melissa was taking down Greg in front of his entire company, I was going to handle my own part of the revenge. Step 3, the grand finale. See? What Sherry didn't know was that I had already filed for divorce. I had spoken to a lawyer the same night I caught her. With the evidence I had, I was going for full custody of our kids. And on the same night Greg got exposed, Sherry was going to come home to divorce papers on the table. This wasn't just about exposing them. It was about taking away everything they had lied for. Melissa and I spent the next 2 days making sure every detail was set. We coordinated everything. She'd give the speech at the event. I'd make sure Sherry had front row seats to her entire world collapsing. By the time the night of the event rolled around, I was ready. This was it. The night where everything would come crashing down. The night of the event, I was running on pure adrenaline. This wasn't just some petty revenge scheme. This was justice. This was about making them pay. Melissa and I had gone over everything, double-checking every detail. Greg and Sherry were walking into that event thinking it was just another company dinner. They had no idea what was waiting for them. Step 1, getting Sherry to the event. I had to make sure Sherry was there. If I was going to burn Greg's career to the ground, I wanted her front and center to watch it all unfold. So I played dumb. I sent her a text earlier that day. Let's talk. Meet me at the Grand Oak Hotel at 7 p.m. Of course. She jumped at it. She still thought she had a chance to talk her way out of this. She thought if she just cried enough, begged enough, I'd fold. Not this time. She showed up in a tight dress, hair done, makeup flawless, like she was trying to remind me of what I was losing. Pathetic. She walked up to me at the bar, eyes full of fake remorse. Jack, I'm so glad you. I held up my hand. We'll talk after the event. She blinked. What event? I smirked. You'll see. Then I walked off and left her standing there, confused. Step 2. The speech that changed everything. The event was in full swing. The ballroom was packed. Business partners, company executives, investors. Greg was standing at the front, playing the role of the successful, respectable businessman. Melissa was sitting at a table near the stage, looking calm. But I could see it, the cold fury in her eyes. Then, right before Greg was supposed to give his big speech, she stood up. The microphone was in her hand before anyone could stop her. Good evening, everyone, she began, her voice smooth and steady. Before my husband gets up here and gives a speech, I'd like to say a few words about the man you all think you know. The room went silent. Greg turned to her, confused. Melissa, what are you doing? She ignored him. She turned to the audience. This man, the one you've trusted with your business, your investments, has been lying to you. Not just about work, but about something much, much worse. She reached into her purse and pulled out printed screenshots, texts, hotel bookings, the whole ugly truth. Greg has been cheating on me for the past 6 months with one of his employees. She turned, looking directly at Sherry. Sherry Meyer, why don't you stand up and say hello? I swear, you could hear a pin drop. Sherry froze. Her face went from smug confidence to sheer terror. People turned to stare at her. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Greg lunged forward, trying to grab the mic. Melissa, stop this right now. She dodged him. No, Greg, you stop. Stop lying. Stop pretending. The whole world is about to know what kind of man you are. Then she pulled out her phone and tapped the screen. And just like that, she airdropped every single piece of evidence to every executive in the room. Gasps. Shuffling. People pulling out their phones. Greg's entire career destroyed in real time. I watched from the back, sipping my whiskey, letting the chaos unfold. Sherry looked at me, pleading. I just smiled, because she had no idea. I wasn't done yet. The entire ballroom was chaos. People gasped, whispered, and stared. Phones lit up as executives scrolled through every disgusting message Melissa had just airdropped. Greg, he looked like he was about to pass out. His face went red, then pale, then red again. He was stammering, looking around like a trapped animal. Melissa, please, let's talk about this privately. She laughed. Oh, now you want privacy? Were you worried about privacy when you were screwing your assistant in a cheap motel? The crowd murmured louder. Then, the real bomb dropped. One of the higher-ups, a senior executive, stood up and cleared his throat. Greg, is this true? His voice was sharp. Cold, asterisk, asterisk. Greg opened his mouth, desperate. This is a personal matter. Not anymore. The executive's expression darkened. Your contract has a strict morality clause. If this is true, your position is in jeopardy. Greg's face crumbled. Melissa turned to him, grinning like the devil herself. Oops. Guess you should have read the fine print. People started getting up, some shaking their heads, some whispering, some just walking out. Greg knew. He was done. Sherry. She was shaking, because while Greg was falling apart at work, she was about to lose everything. Step 2. Sherry's world falls apart. She bolted, ran straight for me, her heels clicking against the marble floor, her eyes wild. Jack, please. You have to help me. I let out a slow breath, looked her dead in the eyes. Help you? I tilted my head, like how you helped our marriage. She flinched. I messed up. I know that, but we can fix this. I pulled out a folder, handed it to her. Her hands shook as she opened it, and then she gasped. Divorce papers. Filed. Signed. Ironclad. It's over, Sherry, I said. I already met with my lawyer. I'm going for full custody. You can have visitation, but that's it? Her whole body collapsed. Jack, no. You can't do this. I shrugged. You did this. Not me. She grabbed my arms. Jack, please. The kids. I pulled out my final move. A USB drive. I leaned in, whispering in her ear. Inside this drive, screenshots, call logs, bank statements, proof that you were sneaking around on your lunch breaks while our kids were at school. Her breath hitched. I smirked. If you try to fight me in court, this goes to the judge. Let's see how motherly you look then. Her legs wobbled. Her lips trembled. She knew she had lost. Greg had lost his career. Sherry had lost her family. Emmy. I walked out of that hotel with everything. I walked out of that hotel ballroom feeling lighter than I had in months. Greg was ruined. Sherry was broken. And me. I was finally free. But I wasn't done just yet. Step 1. Cleaning up the mess. By the time I got home, Sherry was already calling me. I ignored her. She left voicemail after voicemail, sobbing, begging, pleading for another chance, saying she'd do anything to fix this, that she loved me, that she couldn't lose me. I deleted every single message. I wasn't going to waste another second on her. Instead, I spent the next few days handling business. Lawyer confirmed. My case for full custody was strong. With the evidence I had, there was no way she'd get more than visitation. Friends and family, they all knew. Word spread fast. And guess what? Nobody took Sherry's side. Greg, fired. Officially. The company cut ties with him completely. And just when I thought it couldn't get any better. Step 2. The final blow. Melissa called me a week later. Jack, you're gonna love this. Turns out, Greg's wife wasn't just divorcing him. She was going after half of everything. The house, the cars, the savings, even his retirement fund. And the best part, she had already hired a shark of a lawyer. Greg was about to lose everything. Step 3. Sherry's rock bottom. A few weeks later, I got an email from Sherry. Subject: please read. I almost ignored it, but curiosity got the best of me. Inside, it was the most pathetic thing I'd ever read. She said she was living in a tiny apartment now, that she was struggling to adjust, that she missed me, missed the kids, missed our life. She begged to reconsider. I was stupid, Jack. I see that now. I lost the best thing that ever happened to me. Please, just give me a chance to make this right. I stared at the email for a long moment. Then I typed 2 words. Too late. And I hit send. Epilogue. Moving on. It's been a year since that night. I got full custody of our kids. Sherry gets them every other weekend, but she's still miserable. Her life fell apart. She's stuck in a job she hates, barely making ends meet. Greg, last I heard, he's living in a rental apartment, broke, alone, and bitter. Melissa, she's thriving. She got everything she wanted from the divorce and is living her best life. We still keep in touch. Emmy, I'm happy. Truly, honestly happy. Because in the end, cheaters always lose. And I won.